Hello everyone and welcome back to the High Council. Today we have got a double databank download reveal and we are going to be taking a look at the reveals for everything in the Certified Guild, I think it's called, squad pack for Star Wars Shatterpoint, which is going to be consisting of these three characters we see on the screen right here. So we have the Mandalorian, Grief Karga and IG-11. Wanted to combine these together just so it's into one video to both save having two videos, but also because I'm super excited about these, and I think this might be one of the best squad packs that's going to be coming out. Some of the mechanics in there, I think IG-11 looks absolutely awesome, and the Mando who was revealed this week as well looks like he's going to have some absolutely fantastic abilities to go alongside a really strong team. So let's have a quick look. We're going to start off with the databank download here for the Mandalorian. So we've got the warrior known as the Mandalorian, sometimes referred to simply as Mando. Makes a striking impression wearing the iconic Beskar helmet and stark armour of his people, armed to the teeth and ready for everything. So we've got his single pose here. I do wish my only feedback for AMG was they'd make these photos the same size. Because when we look at Grief Karga and IG-11, the photo is much bigger. But we've got, Mando there. We've got Grogu kind of built on alongside him. I'm not sure if that's potentially attached to his cape or attached on his wrist or something like that, but it is something that's going to be on his model, which is quite cool, but also potentially something that you might be able to take off depending on how it's built if you want a Mando without your Grogu on the side. And then obviously this is Beskar sort of wearing Mando, so we're at least at the end of the first season of the Mandalorian, and spoilers are probably going to be coming in the next 15 minutes or so for anyone that hasn't seen The Mandalorian. But we get into it. So this pair represents one of the strangest teams up in galactic memory, and we've got a little bit of spiel just about who the Mando is, but we can get into his card here. So here we can see that we've got 8 squad points. It's dual factions, so I think it's Age of Rebellion and the New Republic there are those two options up in the top left for you. He is bringing 3 force points with him, and then he is the Mandalorian, so it's Din Djarin, Grogu, and then they are the primary units as well, so the primary that we are getting in this box right here. So nothing too fancy, but if we get into his unit card then, which is right here, so we can see that we've got 1 active ability, 2 reactive abilities, and then 1 identity ability as well. And he has got the Bounty Hunter, Mandalorian, Mercenary, and Scoundrel tag with a stamina of 11 and a durability of 3. So that Bounty Hunter tag is going to come into play through the rest of this squad. So it's going to work nicely with your Cad Banes, your Hondo when he's out, and then also that Scoundrel tag then going to pair somewhat nicely with some of the other Rebellion units that we've currently seen. But if we start off then with that first ability, that active ability, a clan of 2, going to cost you 1 force, and then each character in the unit may dash, and then if all allied characters within range 2 are Bounty Hunter, Mandalorian or Scoundrel units, 1 character in this unit may immediately make a 5 dice attack, or may choose an enemy character within range 3 and push it away range 2. So I think this is very cool. If you're keeping your team together and you're keeping Bounty Hunters together or Mandalorians together, you're then making those 3 attacks. And I think that's something that we'll see as a little bit of a theme through here, is making either additional attacks or attacks against other units other than the one that you've attacked already. So very nice, because if you think that you're going to stay in range of someone that has those tags, and that's probably how you're going to build your list, so that you've just got those tags. To get that free push away, you're potentially going to start controlling an objective, or you're potentially going to make that 5 dice attack. And we'll look at when we see the Mandalorian's stance cards, we'll see that 5 dice attack could be quite nasty indeed. So I think that's super good. If you think that, if the force repulse that the 5th brother has, you're getting that free push. If you're thinking you're Plo Koon and Sarge Ventress, those people that have got things like force push, you're then getting a free move off this as well. And although your push away isn't range 3, you are getting that little free push. So yeah, very strong ability, I think, that we start off with there. And then we've got the first reactive ability, which is Fearless and Inventive. And this is going to cost 1 force as well. So this is, we've seen this ability on other units as well, but when a character in this unit makes a melee attack as part of a combat action, before dice are rolled, this unit may use this ability. Add 2 dice to the attack roll for each enemy character, other than the target that is wounded and that is not wounded, and is engaged with 1 or more characters in this unit. So you're getting that. It feels a bit like the whistling birds kind of thing. That the more people that are around you, the more dice you're going to be rolling. And as I said, when we look at his stance cards, we'll see he's got the real ability to do some nice damage and really pack a punch. And then we've got the second reactive ability, which is Do the Magic Hand thing. So after a ranged attack targeting a character in this unit is resolved, this unit may use this ability. If the attack roll contained 1 or more failures, the attacking unit suffers 2 damage. So this is inbuilt deflect that we've seen on several lightsaber users, without obviously the Mandalorian himself wielding a lightsaber. So yeah, this is Grogu's supporting the Mando with that, but again, I think is super strong to have that built in to his ability. And then finally there we've got that identity ability. This is the way. So when an enemy character wounds another allied unit, after the effect is resolved, 1 character in this unit may heal 2 and then may reposition. Then if each other allied bounty hunter, Mandalorian and scoundrel unit within range 4 may remove 1 condition from itself and then may gain hunger. So this is this is nice. You are obviously going to be taking, this is when you're taking wounds, so you're not dealing them out, but when you do get wounds, you are going to get the ability for them to get a couple of heals off, some reposition, and then giving your units the ability to then remove a condition from itself and potentially gain a hunger token. Super strong. If you're looking at just taking off that 1 condition, you're thinking you've got a bleed on your own exposed on a unit or something like that. Not bleed is MCP terminology. Strained on you, then you are potentially going to want to use that. Range 4 as well, pretty long, and you're going to be using it on all of those 3 tags. So that's a very nice. So I think the Mandalorian has got some really awesome abilities. Clan of 2 and Do the Magic Hand thing, very, very strong. And then we get some more spiel out here. So he and Grogu are truly a clan of 2. The active ability that's a dash and follow up with a 5 stack draw. Grogu's latent powers to push an enemy away. We'll do the magic hand thing. Yes, do the magic hand thing. A reactive ability that punishes range attackers. Similar skill is found amongst Jedi and other force-empowered individuals. And then let's get into his stance cards over here. So we've got 2 here. The first one is they're both named very cool. So this one is Bring You In Warm. And then we've got the second one, which is Bring You In Cold. So if we look at Bring You In Warm to start off with, we can see that this is probably your melee stance card, if you want to call it. So it's a ranged 4 range attack, and you're rolling 6 dice offensively. And if you are in melee, you're rolling 7 dice offensively. And then with either defensively, you're going to be rolling 6 dice there. And if we look at his expertise, so we've got for ranged, we've got 1 to 2 becoming 1 hit, 3 becoming a crit and a hit, and then 4 plus becoming a crit and 2 hits. And then in a engaged melee attack, 1 to 2 is becoming 1 crit, so we've kind of got the opposites here. 3 becoming 1 crit and 1 hit, and then 4 plus becoming 2 crits and 1 hit. And then defensively, 1 is going to give you 1 block and then turns a crit into a hit. 2 to 3 is becoming 2 blocks and then turn a crit to a failure. And 4 plus is becoming 2 blocks, turn a crit to a failure, and also give away a reposition as well. And then looking down his stance card tree, we don't really get too many options to make, which is quite nice. So we're starting off with 1 damage and a shove, followed by 2 damage, followed by another damage and a shove, before we have our first decision to make. So we get a bit of maneuverability. If we go up to the top, we can get a free dash and another damage, followed by the pinned condition and a damage, and then finishing off there in the middle with a reposition and 2 damage. Or we come along the bottom for the disarmed condition and 1 damage, the strained condition and the damage, before we then end up in the middle there with 2 damage and a reposition as well. So great options here for some extra conditions to go out. You've got a couple of shoves in there, but you're also putting out some quite nice damage. So if you get all the way down here to the end, you are going to put down 8 damage alongside a couple of shoves, some free moves around and bits like that. But that is his, Bring You In Warm stance card. If we were to flip it into his Bring You In Cold, we can see here that we've got a bit of a different looking tree, and also a much longer looking tree as well. So this is something that is very cool. So we can see here on this side, we're going ranged attack, we're going to range 5. So I think this might be the first order card where the ranged attack is going to be different on either side. And we're going to be rolling 7 dice offensively as a ranged attack on this side, and 6 dice if we're engaged in melee, and then we're rolling 6 dice defensively for both of them as well. And then if we take a look at this combat tree, oh boy, there is some opportunity here for some wonderful things to happen. So if you are rolling 1 expertise offensively as a range attack, you're just going to make that 1 hit. Nothing too special. But 2 to 3 is going to become 2 crits. And then 4 plus, if we are getting 4 plus expertise, we are going to do an auto 5 damage to the attacker, to the defender, sorry. Which is, awesome, incredible. It will happen, I guarantee it will happen at some point. Throw in a focus in there, or anything like that. You're going to potentially roll 8 dice, and then, you've got it, and it will happen. And it will be absolutely awesome when it does happen. If you then look at his melee engaged expertise, 1 is becoming 1 hit, 2 to 3 becoming a crit and a hit, and then 4 plus becoming a crit and 2 hits as well. And then his defensive expertise isn't changing on this side, so 1 is becoming 1 hit, 1 block, and then turn a crit to a hit. 2 to 3 is becoming 2 blocks and turn a crit to a fail, and 4 plus is becoming 2 blocks, turn a crit to a fail, and get a free reposition as well. And then if we take a look at this combat tree here, this is probably one of the longer combat trees that are available to go to. So we are starting off with 2 damage, followed by a damage and a shove, followed by 2 damage as well. And then we've got a choice to make. So we can either go up to the top for a reposition, we can come down into the middle and use an active ability, or we can drop all the way down to the bottom for the strained and the 1 damage as well. And you'll see from there, if you go to the active ability in the middle, you can then go to either your top reposition or your bottom strained and a damage as well. And then you can go from your reposition down to your active ability and your strained and damage into that active ability as well. So some real cool options going on here. Whatever we then choose, we go into the final stages where we can do 2 damage followed by the exposed, and then we either go up to the top for 2 damage or down to the bottom for 1 damage and a shove as well. So on this side is probably the longest combat tree we've got, so we could potentially go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 stages down the combat tree if you happen to get 8 successes. We're going to potentially put out a maximum, I think this is 10 damage on this side we could put out. If we go 2, 1 to 3, another 2, so that's 5, down to bottom 6, and then 7, 8, 9, 10. And that's only going to be 6 successes as well. So 6 successes and you're putting out 10 damage, which is pretty flipping nice. If you happen to roll your perfect roll, let's just say, and you got 4 expertise and 3 crits to go alongside that, and none of that was blocked, you are potentially going to be putting out, I think it's 10 damage as well. So there is some real opportunities here to do some massive damage in 1 turn or 2 turns. And if you've got sides like this, and you're going to be using clan of 2, and do things like you're going to immediately make a 5 dice attack, your 5 dice attack onto here, potentially getting 2 to 3 successes, 3 or 5 damage on his Bring You In Cold side, and 3 or 4 damage on Bring You In Warm side as well. Where are we going? Back to this one here. So we can see there as well that Bring You In Warm, we're calling it his modified IB94 blaster pistol, and on Bring You In Cold we are going to be using his AMBAM sniper rifle. And that is everything for the Mandalorian that we can see. on here. So yeah, I think the Mandalorian looks like he's going to be a particularly strong character and a particularly imposing primary unit that is definitely going to be seeing on my table pretty soon now. There'll be a couple of weeks, I think, until he's out. But if we're going to get rid of these, and we're going to look then at everything else that comes in the box. So we've then got Grief Karga and IG-11 Assassin Droid coming in as well. And this is what I mean personally about I wish that all of these photos that AMG take would just be the same size, because on the Mandalorian it is much smaller. But here we've got Grief Karga there on the left hand side as your secondary unit in this box. And we've got IG-11 then as your supporting unit. And I think they're, although we haven't seen any sort of customization options here, there must be the ability to do some really cool stuff, I think, with IG in terms of where his weapons are, or what stance he's in, or which way he's shooting at, anything like that. And then let's have a look. So we get our normal bit of spiel about stuff here, and then we get into Grief Karga's unit card here. So interestingly, here's a secondary unit that is going to cost 3. So welcome to the Pons Club for Grief Karga. He is your 3 points cost secondary option, and here's just Grief Karga and Grief Karga a secondary unit. Nothing too special about that. And then we can look at his unit card here. So he has the Mercenary and Scoundrel tags, and a stamina of 8, a durability of 2, and then we've got 1 active ability, 1 reactive ability, and then 2 innate abilities as well. So we've got that first active ability there. Some of my favourite people are bounty hunters, costing 1 force, and that is each allied bounty hunter character within range 4 may heal, and then they may dash. Yeah, very nice. As I said, if you pair this up with some other bounty hunters to really maximise the ability there, that range 4 bubble that he can provide, to give them some free mobility and also free heals. Very, very nice. Really supportive kind of ability there. And we've got the first reactive ability there, Close the Deal, costing 1 force as well. So when an opposing player chooses to activate a unit from reserve, this unit may use this ability. Choose an allied bounty hunter character. The chosen character may immediately dash, then they may make a 5 dice attack targeting a character in that unit that was chosen to activate. So this is, yeah, again, I think this is very cool. This is going to not only make your opponent think about what characters that they're putting in reserve, if any, but also alongside that are then going to determine when they want to activate those characters. As I said, this 5 dice attack with someone like a Mando, you're potentially putting 3 to 5 damage out on someone quite consistently, and if your opponent is activating someone from reserve who's got a few bits of health left, or doesn't necessarily think they're going to get into a great position, this 5 dice attack can all of a sudden make a real change. And then the free dash alongside it, just that interesting ability to again keep the mobility up across the bounty hunter team. And then we've got those 2 innate abilities. So there is 1 job. So before revealing the top card of the mission deck, choose an opposing player to reveal cards from the top of their order deck until a unit card is revealed. Then the chosen player marks the corresponding unit with a priority objective token and shuffles their order deck. The first time an allied bounty hunter character wounds the marked unit, move the struggle token 1 space towards your momentum tokens, then remove the wounded unit's priority token. So this I think is really cool. This is a one of those like, cool, that's our bounty hunter target that we're going for. I do think it's important to remember that it's got to be the first time an allied bounty hunter character wounds the marked unit. So it's not going to be Grief Karga because he's not a bounty hunter, but could be, Mando, Jango Fett, Boba Fett if we potentially get Boba Fett eventually, or any of those units there. And then this is going to be very cool because I think you'll get this, if I read it correctly, you'll get this every time there's a new, at the end of every struggle. So you'll get it at the start of struggle 1, at the start of struggle 2, and then at the start of struggle 3 as well. And then Wolves at my back. When determining control of an active objective that character in this unit is contesting, If there is a tie, this unit's controlling player takes control of that objective. So he is effectively, counting as 2 for the purposes of grabbing an objective, which is, again, very nice, and also one of those abilities that's really cool, particularly if you're going to go and take one of your opponent's objectives. So, although it is wonderful that he will sit on an objective and count as 2 himself, if your opponent has got one person controlling one of their objectives and Grief Karga manages to get there, you are then just going to take straight control of that one entirely, which is very nice. So yeah, really like Grief Karga. And then we're going to go here into his, it's just normal spiel there. We're going to go into this order card here. This one here, stance card, sorry. So Grief Karga, middleman. So we can see here lots of conditions. So not a huge amount of options to take from his combat tree, because we're only getting potentially a maximum of 5 successes, a minimum of 3, but 3 does get us all the way down the combat tree. But if we start off with his range attack is going to be ranged 4, and is a 5 dice attack, 5 dice defensively, and then engage, so he's slightly better, 6 dice against 6 dice defensively and 5 dice as a defensive from a melee attack as well. And if we look at his expertise, so his expertise is providing us with quite a few different conditions. So if we happen to be a ranged attack, Grief Karga's blasters, 1 expertise becomes the disarmed condition, 2 to 3 becomes a crit and the disarmed condition, and 4+ becomes a crit, disarm, and an exposed as well. And then his melee expertise, kind of opposite of what we see on his blaster. So 1 is becoming the exposed condition, 2 to 3 is becoming a crit and exposed, and then 4+ is becoming the crit, exposed, and the disarmed as well. And then defensively, he is ultimately just a normal dude. So 1 becomes 1 block, and 2+ becomes 2 blocks. Nothing else fancier out of that. And then if we take a look down the combat tree, so I do like the options that are provided to you here, because you can go 5 long, you can go 3 long, you can go 4 long, and you can get all the way down to the end with relative ease. So from option number 1 there, we are doing 1 damage and then also giving the pinned condition out. And then we've ultimately got a choice. We can go up to the top for a damage and a shove. We can go down to the bottom for a damage and a free dash. Or we can end up right there in the middle for 2 damage and the strange condition as well. If we do take one of those options to go up to the top or down to the bottom, our third choice is then the 2 damage and the strange condition as well. And then once we hit there, we've got the exact same choices available to us. We can go up to the top for a damage and a shove. We can come down to the bottom for 2 heals. Or we can go right to the end for a reposition. And again, if we do go to the top or bottom there, we can then get to the reposition as the 5th option as well. So yeah, not super amounts of damage coming out here at all. 5 is going to be your maximum output, but I suggest that he is there for a couple of the conditions, a couple of the heals that are going to come out, and also to be that objective runner for you entirely. And then we can look at more stuff here, blah blah blah. And then we get our first 5 points cost supporting unit in IG-11 here. So IG-11 Assassin Droid, 5 points cost, supporting unit, just IG-11. And let's take a look at what we've got here. So we've got IG-11. Haven't opened it. Let's quickly open that one up. So he has got the tags Bounty Hunter, Mercenary, Scoundrel, Droid, and then a stamina of 9, a durability of 3. And here we've got a tactics ability, a reactive ability, and then 2 innate abilities as well. So no active abilities here. And I think this is something that's quite nice. If we take a look between IG, Mando, and Grief Karga. Where are you, Grief? This one here. So we've got 1 ability here, or 2 abilities on Grief Karga that use Force. 1 ability on the Mando that uses Force. And that's it. So they're not particularly being greedy with their Force, and can have the ability to share it out quite nicely. And then if we just look at here, IG's unit card. So we've got that tactics ability on the hunt. At the start of this unit's activation, this unit may remove 1 condition from itself, then 1 character in this unit may dash. So very nice. We've seen this similar things before, but yeah, that free remove a condition from yourself is going to get rid of your you know, that pin, that strain, that disarm that you really want to get rid of to maximise your turn, and then your free dash adding into that whole piece around the mobility that's coming in in the Bounty Hunter crew. And we've got multi-thread targeting protocol. So after this unit makes an attack, as part of a combat action, it may use this ability. One character in this unit may make a 5 dice attack targeting a character and another enemy unit within range and line of sight. So this is very nice to get multiple attacks out there, attacking multiple different units, things like that. And I think it's very cool, and we'll see when we get to his combat tree that, you know, his 5 dice attacks are potentially going to be quite nasty. But this is one of the few ways in Shatterpoint you're going to be able to make more than one attack a turn, and particularly more than one attack that targets a different unit. So a lot of the other abilities that we've seen like this are normally make a 5 dice attack targeting the same character, but this is giving you that opportunity to go out there and either punch to, shoot to, anything like that. And then we've got 2 innate abilities there. So the first one, are you refusing my request? So each time a character in this unit makes an attack targeting an enemy character that is contesting an active objective you do not control, it adds 3 dice to the attack. But this is very cool. If it does and the defender is not wounded by the attack, you lose a momentum. So you are giving your you are going for all out really with this. You are saying, right, I need to do this damage, I need to get the wound off, knowing that if you don't, your opponent is going to get closer to taking that struggle. Note, this is you may add 3 dice, so you don't have to do it, so you can think, you know what, like, nah, not at all. I am going to just do the normal attack, because if we're adding that 3 dice, there's no way that we're going to wound it at all. But you know, if you're like, man, this character's only got like 2 health left or 4 health left or something like that, and you just want to absolutely go for it, this is a very cool way to do it. And then the last one there, this is the best ability, I think. Victory through combat is impossible. So while this unit is wounded, let me start that bit entirely again. While this unit is wounded, each time an opposing player gains a momentum token, if there are more enemy characters than other allied characters within 3, roll 1 attack die for each wounded and injured token this unit has. If the result contains any failures, each character in this unit may dash, and then each character within 3 suffers 5 damage. After this effect is resolved, this unit is defeated. So this is, yeah, let's just break it down, because there's a lot of stuff there. So first of all, for this ability, IG-11 has got to be wounded himself. So while this unit is wounded, and then it is each time the opposing player gains a momentum token. So that could be you've tied with your opponent for where the struggle track is, and you are finished directly in the middle, they gain a momentum token. Your opponent wounds another one of your units, gets a momentum token. The opponent finishes a turn and the struggle is still on your side of the momentum track, they're going to get a momentum token. So then, if there are more enemy characters than other allied characters within range 3, roll an attack die for each wounded and injured token this unit has. So you're potentially going to roll, you know, 1 attack die whilst he's wounded once. As long as your opponent has got more people around than you have. And then if you get a failure, this unit dashes, and then each character within 3 suffers 5 damage. So he does the whole self-sacrifice, runs forward, blows himself up, 5 auto damage, no saving it, anything like that. The negative side is IG-11 himself then becomes wounded, defeated even. So he is getting removed from the board. But how cool is that going to be? You know, again, I think when you pull this off and he, I'm just going to say, runs into the middle of a crowd of 4 or 5 different characters and does 5 damage to every different character, it is going to be one heck of an explosion when it does happen. So that is his unit card, and that's not even the best part, because we then get onto his stance card here. So he's got Bondsman Guild Protocol. So he is, this is again very nice. So he's rolling 7 dice offensively for either a ranged attack or a melee attack. And then his ranged attack is going to be a ranged 5 attack as well. And then defensively, he's rolling 6 dice against ranged and 5 dice against melee. So again, someone you're potentially going to want to keep a little bit more out of the way. If we look at his expertise there, his E11 medium blaster rifle, 1 to 2 becoming 1 crit, 3 becoming a crit and a hit, 4+ becoming 2 crits and a damage as well. Followed up by that engaged melee expertise, 1 to 2 becoming 1 hit and an auto damage, and 3+ becoming a crit and an auto damage as well. And then his defensive expertise there, survival directive, 1 becoming a block, 2 to 3 becoming 2 blocks and a reposition, and 4+ becoming 3 blocks and a reposition as well. And then we look at this stance combat tree, and there's again just so many options to start off with. So we are going to be starting off, and we're going to talk about the different paths that we can take until we get to a point where everything stops. So we're always starting off with 2 damage, and then we have 3 options. We either go along that top train for 2 damage, the exposed condition, and then a damage and a pinned condition, or we're coming along the bottom for that 2 damage, a reposition, 2 damage, followed by that damage and the pinned condition. Or we're going straight down the middle and we're going 2 damage, a shove, and then the damage and the pinned condition. So 2 options there for either a 4-track train or a 3-track train. And then from there, we're then going to go either up to the top for a shove, down to the bottom for 2 heals, and followed off last of all by 2 damage. So the fact here, you've got an IG who's going to put out, if he gets to the end of that path, he's going to be putting out 7 damage, alongside a couple of conditions or some movement and repositionings as he goes. I think he's got the ability to be super strong. You've got that 7 dice attacking. You're getting 3 or 4 probably successes quite consistently. You know, you're putting out anywhere between 4 and 5 damage, a couple of conditions, some free moves, bits like that. And then we've got some more sort of spiel here. So, yeah, that is everything. So, what are my overall thoughts? I think this is going to be a super strong box for the Mando, Grief Karga, and IG-11 of 3 characters here from the Mandalorian. I think this is going to be awesome, and I'm so looking forward to getting this on the table. I think it's just going to be a load of fun to play, alongside the fact that it's going to be particularly strong. I think IG-11 has got the ability to potentially be one of the best supporting units in the game, particularly one of the best single supporting units in the game. Grief Karga is purely there to be ultimately take the role of being that support character, and he's taking that little bubble of giving out some free movement or controlling an objective towards the back, and your Mando is going up there and getting up close and personal, or deciding to use that airband rifle to just stick out an absolute mountain's worth of damage. But that is everything. Slightly longer video here so that we can unpack all the bits from this box. The next one we're looking at is a double length feature for the Bad Batch as well, which has just been announced in the last week. Thank you very much for watching. Let me know your thoughts down below. If you're still here, massively appreciated. And check out the other Shatterpoint content on the channel, and we'll see you next time.